You might like to log back in.
Okay.
Oh, I can hear you now.
Got me now?
Yep. Wonderful.
Okay, there we go.
There we go.
Whew. Mass panic. There we go.
So for the benefit of our audience, Mike, I thought that perhaps we should start sooner than our noon time.
Sure.
So those who are watching us and during the event, yes, we have taken your break away, and I do apologize for that. But there is a very good reason.
Just a minute. You are not right. I'm just getting the link. Just a minute.
Okay, just give us a cue, Pratyush, when we are live so that I will say my opening. How's it going, Mike, so far?
Good. I'm sweating a little bit. I couldn't figure out why my microphone and my headset wouldn't work all of a sudden. But and then Mike Simmons had a little difficulty getting in, but everything Tush and I worked behind the scenes there real quick and got that all squared away. So
okay, well, I'm glad you did.
Yeah.
I'm glad you did. We are in good hands.
Absolutely.
Mr. Pratyush, give us a cue when you are ready.
Just a minute. Just a minute.
Sure, take your time. So Mike, as he's, again, working behind the scenes to get us to the fame and glory of being live streamed, I think what we can do is, since yesterday we ran out of time, there were so many questions, we can take this 20-minute segment before noon. I think Laura is going to join us at noon, and then we're going to go back on the topic that we have scheduled for the role of health coaches. But before that, I think we can use this 20 minutes to get a quick recap of all the sessions that have taken place since yesterday and even today.
Sure.
So I think I'm going to say that again after.
You are live.
Welcome back. Folks, if you are watching us on the event, that is true that it is not yet noon, but you are still looking at Mike and Anand. It is not as good as Mike and Mike show, but for the time being, I think we can live with Mike and Anand show.
There we go.
But the reason we started 20 minutes early is to give everybody a chance to basically just process the last day and a half of this event. Yesterday, we had a very good session, or I think several good sessions, including one on the referral management, and there were so many questions and comments in that session. There were also some comments, Mike, earlier this morning during the sessions on leadership that you presented, and thanks for that. And also your sessions with Mike Simmons and Tim Dick generated a pretty good conversation. So what I would like to do, if you are okay with that, is to take this time and in the next 18 minutes or so, I have a list of questions that I'm going to share with you. And then in the meantime, if I miss anything, feel free to bring it to the audience as well. But the first logistic thing I would like to share with everybody who's watching is that both Mike and I are tremendously grateful for your support and for watching us. Mike, I think I shared with you that we had more than 130 business owners across Georgia who have registered. This being the very first summit of this kind, this number is very impressive. And again, we thank everybody for their time, and we hope that this is meaningful. And if we have missed anything, guys, the show is still not over. You can still type in your comments. We'll see what we can do, but we will also make it better the next time we meet during our summer event. Now, having covered that part, Mike, let's come back to our event for this year.
Sure.
So yesterday, when we started the session, we had Jody, who had a very good session on story. Now, the question I got after the event was, from one of the providers in Savannah, Georgia. And her question to me was, the session was wonderful, but if I am running a business with 20 to 30 clients, and we don't have a lot of marketing budget, it's a very small team with her and another family member helping her manage the business, what are the practical ways she can tell her story? And if she is not very conversant in social media per se, what are the practical tips you will give to her so that she can, because everybody has a story to tell. I think, you said that yesterday. What is the method or the process so that she can actually execute this idea?
Yeah, that's a great question from our friend in Savannah. And I would have to say that I was in the very same spot she was in a number of years ago, and really didn't know what to do or how to do it. And so, if she has something as simple as a Facebook page for the company, and those are very, very simple to set up. Facebook actually just walks you through that. But going back and doing something as simple as maybe a 1 to 2 minute video just introducing herself and her business. Again, as we talked about yesterday, people are looking for authenticity, a genuineness in the people that they are doing business with. And sometimes we can get very polished about hiring marketing firms to make sure the lighting's just right and the audio is perfect, and having even actors come in and actually do those things for us. But where people connect with each of us on an emotional level, which is a very, very deep level, is when they sense the authenticity of who we are. Another thing too that Jody talked about yesterday that can be a part of those very quick videos are one, empathy, showing empathy for the people that she is wanting to be able to work with, and also talking about the experience that she has gives her authority to speak into those the needs that those folks have. And you bring what Mike talked about just a few minutes ago. We're connecting our ability to have a solution for the problem that they have, and linking those two things together. So I think something as simple as an initial Facebook page, again, making sure you have the okay to post pictures, especially when it comes to clients, because there are HIPAA issues there. But pictures of your business, your staff, what they're doing, and then just these short videos that tell a little bit of your story, why you got into this business, having empathy for the clients, and then the experience that you've had, showing the authority that you have, I think are very, very easy ways. And I do know this, the more you do this, the more comfortable you will become with this. And those 1 or 2 minute videos become 5 or 6 minute videos. I would say when you're doing those kind, to limit it to probably that 3 to 5 minute time frame, because people will, no matter how good we think we are or how good we are, people do tend to lose interest after a few minutes. So make sure that you sort of have those things that you want to make sure you want to say, and get that out. Again, not fast, but make sure you do, over that 2 or 3 minutes, make the points that you want to make.
Okay. Perfect. And I think so our viewers are in the audience. I did not want to say their name. I think they are hearing and getting the message. Now, where I will say names, I think we have some permission, because those were in the comment section. Yesterday, a few of our audience members, Ilham, if you are there, and Terry, there was a pretty good conversation about the referral management system. And I think we had a couple of speakers who shared some very good ideas. The question, which I think is still lingering in the minds of several audience members here, is what are the 2 or 3 things they can do in order to increase the transparencies in this referral system? Because we saw there were so many comments bouncing back and forth. And I think we also heard from AAAs that they are getting these referrals to multiple people, and they are taking out the duplicates. Now, as a provider, I don't know that. So what are the things I can do as a provider so that I'm not wasting time.
Sure. Yeah. Well, I think one of the keys that both Deborah and Karen made yesterday is the fact that when you are submitting that referral, to do it one time. Again, when a single referral is submitted multiple times, that slows things down because they have to treat each contact like that as though it were the very, very first one. So making sure to do it only one time. For the AAAs that have an online form where you can submit it, you can make sure that there on each one of those, there is a place for you to put your name as the person sending the referral. If you do have to send it by fax or by email, again, identifying yourself as the one who is sending the referral. The other thing that Karen brought out was to make sure that either the participant or someone from their family makes contact with the AAA. Now, again, this can become a little bit of a sort of a bone of contention, if you will, for some folks. But again, understanding what's going on at the AAA, some of these AAAs have only one person that has to look at all these referrals. Some of them will have multiple people that are doing this, but they are limiting their conversations to talking with family, and they're not communicating with the providers. So again, making sure that the family is having contact with them will certainly keep you in the loop as to what's going on. Plus, it gives you another opportunity to have another connection with the family as well, to kind of keep you at top of mind awareness with them, and know that when you send that referral, that normally you're getting a response back that will give you or printed out once you do it online. You have a date, you have a time, you have a tracking number. Because I do know that this takes place, and especially with our favorite new program, Structured Family Care, that sometimes, in fact, probably a lot of times, we don't know specifically, but I'm going to guess a number of times, the AAAs are getting multiple people that are sending the same referral in. So, company A, company B, company C, all three for some reason have had some sort of contact with that potential client. And maybe the client has gone online and seen several different companies that do this. And so they apply with all of them, hoping that may increase their probability of getting in. But what I do know is this, and I've actually seen this happen, is that when there are multiple referrals from multiple sources, the AAA will go back and they'll look to see who sent it in first. And you get to just like a race, you get to the finish line first. Yours is the name that is in that referral, that then they come back and say that, you did speak with company A. Is that who? Again, it's all about client choice, but they will make sure that the participant knows, yes, we did get your name from several providers, but this was the first one that sent it to us. Is that who you want to go with? Now, again, that participant may choose someone else, but at least from a standpoint of having a time and tracking stamp, if you will, if yours got in there first, then at least that yours was at the top of the list. But again, like we say, that the client ultimately has the choice to decide to go with you or go somewhere else.
Mike, I have a follow-up question on that one too. If I remember correctly, yesterday, Miss Deborah Miner said that usually it's going to take them, was it Deborah or was it Karen? One of them said it's taking them 80 to 90 days for them to get back on the referral statuses. Will it be, and I know that some case management companies, on the other hand, are promising that they can have a faster turnaround in terms of decision sooner than those 80 to 90 days time frame that we had yesterday. So as a provider, should I go through a case management company who I think can get a faster decision, or should I send my referrals to AAAs?
Well, again, it all starts with the referral, and each referral, and I'll speak to the CCSP side, because that one is tracked within WellSky. For the most part, source clients, all that information is still done on a paper basis, but everything starts at the AAA. Now, AAA in the CSRA, because of the number of referrals coming in, are going to be far less than what happens in Atlanta. Those may happen much quicker. Atlanta, as Karen noted in the conversation yesterday, they're running about 80 days behind in going through referrals. But understand this, you can send it to a case management company, but they have got to send it to the AAA because that's where everything starts.
Mm-hmm.
And once the AAA has done their initial assessment, it then goes to case management for them to do their more in-depth assessment. So whichever one you send it to, understand the AAA has got to be the one to touch it first.
Okay.
So I don't want to say that, you know, the companies are making promises that they cannot keep. I'm certainly not saying that at all, but I do know this, and having been in the case management business before a number of years ago, that every referral starts with the AAA. So I would in my opinion, if I were a provider, if I were a potential participant, knowing what I know now, I would start with AAA.
No, that's perfect. And I think, you know, that's a very good advice too, that everything does start with AAA. The question is about doing our homework so that you have all the information to help them make a faster decision, because the last thing they want is also to play back and forth between the client and their office. Now, moving on to today's sessions, I know that we can take more time on referrals because there were so many other questions, and perhaps we can do a session or a segment on referral management at some other time if we see so much interest. Now, moving on to today, I think we started today's session on leadership, and you gave a very good description of the types of leadership. You also asked the providers to, you know, stay true to their vision and mission as well, and walk the talk, so to speak.
Yes.
If I am a small provider in South Georgia, I understand what you are saying, but I'm just swamped with my day-to-day work, right? How do I find time to reflect and at least, you know, because I know what my vision and mission is as a provider of PSS, but how important it is that my website should say that, or how important it is that, you know, I put a kind of a plaque somewhere and put it on a wall, or what are the other intangible ways in which people can feel what our vision and mission is if they are working as caregivers in my company? What are the ways I can do that?
Yeah. As I was talking about this morning, when I go back to, again, my days in case management, as our team sat down and talked, we decided that the primary core value of the company was our business is keeping you home. And that was my core value before I even, you know, shared that with them. And I do realize that, you know, this is a very fast-paced business, and it is a business. I mean, we can say a lot of things, and most people that are in this got into into you know, caring for people because either a need they have, or they feel like it is a mission or a calling in their life. And sometimes we jump into businesses and doing things without looking at all the parameters that are involved. And one of the things where businesses and owners can get misaligned very quickly is if you don't really understand at your core why you're doing what you're doing. If you don't understand who you are as a person, and this is not a revelation that happened overnight. You know who you are because, you know, you've been who you are for a number of years. What you're trying to do is take that very core. I'm caring at my core, And these are the 3 reasons why I'm caring. It really is, we don't have to make it complicated. It is very, very simple. And then we express that to our staff. And again, it can be a 5-minute meeting once a week where you continue to reinforce, again, this is the core value of who we are and why we do what we do. It doesn't have to be complicated. You can, if you want to, you can have it designed as a plaque and put it on the wall. But what's more important is that your staff hear it from you. They hear it not just as words, but they see it in your eyes. They hear it in the inflection of your voice. And when you're hiring people, you're asking, again, those kind of questions of them to make sure that they're aligned with who you are. Because here's what I do understand. When businesses are scaling up, when things get busy, when stressors get high, we always default to exactly who we are. So if we tout that we are a company that is this and does these kind of things, but in reality we're this over here, what we're going to find time and time again is when we're moving forward, when we're scaling up, when stressors happen, we're going to always default to who we are over here. And what employees hear and what participants hear and see, if those 2 things don't match up, then there's confusion, frustration, sometimes anger. We lose staff, we lose clients because those 2 things don't match up. So realizing again that the things get very busy, but you've got time early in the morning. You maybe have time at lunch. You've got time at night before you put the head on the pillow to ask yourself, really, who am I? Why do I do this? And can my staff and can the people that I service, the people in the community that know me, do all these things look the same? And then if they're not, then you begin to do things that allow you to adjust and move toward a company, an organization, a staff, and a service that all align together.
So Mike, moving on to the next session, I think we had a very good conversation. You and Tim touched upon so many aspects of hiring and retention, and I think that was a very solid conversation. One thing that jumped out to me was that looking at the reality of caregiver hiring, not only across the country, but even more so in our own state, where you see we are competing with the likes of Amazon, who are expanding their warehouses and they are paying $15-17 per hour. And then we have caregiver wages, what they are, and also the inflation that we are living in. You mentioned something in your speech or in your conversation that there's only a finite pool. There's not an infinite reservoir of employees out there. What are 1 or 2 practical things I can do as a provider if I'm watching this event? What are the things I can do which you have seen work as some innovative approaches towards hiring of caregivers?
Yeah. And we may touch on this a little bit more as we move past the noontime hour. But one of the things that Tim talked about, and I have seen work very effectively, is what is the motivation behind the person that's coming in and applying for a job? What are their passions? Again, if they have a CNA certificate or they have been a caregiver before, we can check that box off fairly quickly in that they understand the basic premise of the work they're going to be doing. What you have to understand at that point is what are the passions in their life that drive their willingness to do this? Now, we're not going to be, old term would be Pollyanna about this, living in a utopian world where people are just going to take that job at $9 an hour, no matter who's paying what around the corner. We've got to be realistic about this. That yes, Amazon and others are paying, even some of the fast food restaurants are paying, anywhere from $18 to $22 an hour. We cannot compete with that. And let's just go ahead and put that up on the table right now. We can't compete with that. But if we understand the passion and the motivation behind the people that are working, Well, maybe they will take a little bit less than what these others are paying because there's great satisfaction in the work that they're doing. Maybe the schedule that you offer works better with their life in where they are, because not everybody, believe it or not, that everybody wants to go in at 8 in the morning and get off at 3 in the afternoon. There are some people, because of life and situations where they are, that a 3 p.m. to 8 p.m. shift works better for them and for their families. Another thing that we do have the advantage of right now is that where we are seeing a diminishing of what we would think of as more of the professional in-home caregivers that may be moving on to working in nursing homes or hospitals or places that are able to provide bigger wages and very rich benefit plans and those kind of things. We do have the option for family caregivers, for neighbors that may want to do this. And yeah, this may be a PSS client that only gets 4 hours a day, 3 days a week, but having those options right now, maybe it's 3 different caregivers, maybe one's a family member and 2 are friends, but they're willing to take, the $12 an hour, because to them, again, it's more about the passion, motivation of caring for Miss Smith, if you will, then the money's not the important thing for them. So those are some things that we can do right now. Now, is it possible that eventually CMS and the state and others get us to a point where the wages are more competitive? It's possible, but again, what we all know is that the government grinds and moves very, very slowly, and so we can't wait on or depend on or hope that's going to happen. I think we got to look at the tools that we have right now, being again family and friends, and finding that motivation of those folks in order to see if we can fill those gaps that are there.
So, Mike, I know that we are scheduled to start the conversation on health coaches and SFC. I think let's give Carol a few more minutes. Perhaps she will be dialing in a few minutes from now. We had one more session, the Mike and Mike show. And I think, that I had a query at that time too, which I think the question is still resonating in my mind, which is, who is better qualified to ask these questions when you have the what and the who? In your experience working with so many providers across the state and even outside the state, is the business owner the right person to tell the story? Or is, because I have also seen some businesses who are relying upon part-time marketers to get new clients for a variety of reasons. Are the marketers the right people? And if that is so, how can a business owner assure that they are telling the right story, which is to be told, so that they are not disappointed? Otherwise, you always hear this issue of, clients rebrokering to another provider and so on and so forth, for a variety of reasons. The question here is, who has the onus of telling the story? I think I'm going to combine those 2 sessions from Jody from yesterday and then Mike Simmons from today. Who can do it better? Should there be a dedicated person in the staff? Because some of us providers don't have that many people in the team.
Yeah, great question again. Of course, I'd start with this. Nobody can tell your story better than you. I mean, we'll just go ahead and start with that. My children can tell some of my story. My wife can tell it. Other people that know me, but it comes differently when it comes from me, because there's a passion there. There's an inflection in my voice. There's an emotion there that nobody else can match. They just can't. But having said that, when you have staff that are taking referral calls, again, taking 5 or 10 minutes on a Monday, or you do it 2 or 3 days a week, where you are telling and retelling that story to your staff, so that they are able to replicate it, if you will, not to the degree that you can, but they have enough. Obviously, they have enough credibility that they can tell that story and share it with people, so they get a good understanding of what you can do. But the key is this: once you've told the story, you've got to follow it up with the processes and the service that back up everything that they said. Now, at the and I don't want to say at the bottom tier, but but you're talking about, you know, hiring professional marketers that do this. Again, you can tell them the story. They're going to have a script that they can repeat it. Those are going to be the ones that probably are the least effective in communicating your story than your own staff or yourself. But again, and I think it's important for the owner to have those conversations with those marketers so that they understand the depth and the importance of what's going on. But again, once that's done, whether you're telling the story or your staff member or the marketer, at the end, it's the delivery that is going to solidify that what they heard from whichever voice they heard it from is in fact true.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Again, we started by saying walking the talk or walk the talk. So
Yes.
speaking of walking the talk, I guess now it's time for us to walk the talk, because we promised that this session is going to be initially for role of health coaches. So yes, we will start on that. I think perhaps Laura might not be able to join us today.
I know that she was actually in a meeting, and that meeting may have gone long, but I do have a lot of notes from that conversation that she and I had. So if she jumps in, we'll go with that. If not, we'll say that Laura told us. How about that?
Sure. So why don't you begin by telling us, you know, why we are having this conversation? What is the importance of health coaches? And if I'm a provider, so I can wear two hats. Either I already started working SFC, but I'm still new, or I'm very interested in this SFC program, but I have heard about this notion of having a health coach, and what is that? How does it work? Is it successful? Will it work? Will it not work? Will family members talk to me? Will they not talk to me? Enlighten me.
Yes. All right. So again, going back to what we talked about yesterday, structured family caregiver as a service within the elderly and disabled waiver program. And understand this, it is a service that is a part of EDWP. It is not some standalone something out there. It is a part of the waiver program. And what it does, it allows a family member to care for a family member in the home that they all live in together. And again, as we discussed yesterday, that caregiver cannot have another job outside the home. They can't have another job inside the home. This is the full focus of what they're doing. So we've identified before the caregiver, we've identified the participant. Now the provider organization has what is called a health coach that works for them, that is sort of that liaison for the caregiver and for the participant. Now, if I'm remembering the manual 14 or manual 1407 in particular, which deals with structured family care, this health coach must have, I believe it's a minimum of 3 years of experience in working with the aged and disabled population, fragile adults, I believe is another term they use in there. And so a lot of what you find in these health coaches is that they have previously been CNAs. Some may have been LPNs, but for the most part, these have been folks that have been involved in direct care of participants. So they've been in homes before. They have done direct care with these clients, most of them, like I say, for a number of years. And so they understand the nuances of what has to happen. Exactly, the kind of care that they need, what it's like to transfer a client, what it's like to bathe them, to make sure they're fed. And what I do know, again, speaking from personal experience, it's one thing to take my mom to lunch somewhere. It's another thing to because she's had a stroke and now there are things she can no longer do for herself. It's a very different thing to prepare a meal for her. It's a very different thing to go back and live with her on a 24-hour basis. And so what is key with these health coaches are the relationships that they're able to build and bond with these caregivers. They can be very, very empathetic because they have been there. They have done that before. And the unique thing about these health coaches is that they are and track with me as I use this term, that they are a disinterested third party. And what I mean by that is this: they know what needs to be done. They're experts in doing it, but they're far enough removed emotionally from that situation that they can look that caregiver in the eye, whether it's telephonically or with them there in person, and they can say to them, now, I want you to take a deep breath. I want you to describe for me, okay, well, now I can help you with that. And these are some things that we'll be able to do together to help you through that. But they're, again, like I say, they're far enough removed from it, but they understand it well enough that they can develop such an intimate rapport with these caregivers. And all of a sudden, that caregiver is sharing information with them that they may not with somebody who maybe for all intents and purposes may be almost like a perfect stranger to them, but they're sensing a unique bond between the two of them. And I think that the skill sets they've had previously and their ability to be empathetic with that caregiver provides that relational bond that they need.
So to summarize what we just said, they don't have to be RN or LPN necessarily.
Yeah.
They just have to have an experience. They could be CNA. They could also be social workers. Am I correct?
Yes, that's correct. Yeah, the key is 3 years of working with the aging population or frail adults. So they've had to have that kind of experience so that they really are able to speak into the life of not only the caregiver, but the member as well. And they know how to, and they know how to listen when a phone call is made, or when they eventually, when we get back into actual being in-home visits, they look around, they hear things, they see things. And again, because of that experience, they're able to put 2 and 2 together very quickly. Another thing they're able to do is they are able to help advocate, if you will, for the member and for the caregiver with case management. Now, again, structured family care at the onset says that the minimum that they need is 5 hours a day, 7 days a week. And of course, that caregiver is now providing, the meals, the bathing, the transfers, transportation to and from physician appointments and other things. So they have a lot on them as a caregiver. And not only that, like I say, they have that attachment as being family as well. And so again, what's critical in that health coach role is being able to help them to take those, if you will, sometimes those 5 or 10 minute mental breaks, to step outside, to take a breath, to walk around the house or whatever it may be, not to leave the house, but just maybe step outside for a couple of minutes and to be able to regain focus on what they're doing. And they also can understand, again, because they've done this work before, they're able to understand and know, is this beyond what that caregiver really can do? And is this a time to think about another caregiver? Are we getting to a point where SFC is not really where this person needs to be for safety issues, for health reasons? Is it time to maybe talk about transitioning into more of an institutional type of setting, nursing home or personal care home, something like that? But this, and as I'm talking to structured family caregiver providers, I'm talking to owners, and this is a you and me conversation right now. The role of that health coach may be one of the most critical roles that you have in your organization. And so and I would even suggest, and maybe it depends on the kind of the size of the operation you have, but I would suggest, especially in those smaller to medium-sized organizations that are doing this, I would make it incumbent on you as the owner that you have that hiring conversation with those health coaches to make sure that they understand who you are, the core values of your company, the story that you're telling, and how critical their role is in ensuring the health and safety of that client, and understanding the relationship they're going to have with that caregiver. Because again, this health coach role is not a traditional 9 to 5. They may get a call from the either from the member or from the caregiver at 8, 9 o'clock at night because something has happened. It might happen on a weekend. So understanding that you're committing to something pretty significant here, and you're listening for those things that indicate are there more issues going on here than maybe we thought. So again, like I say, I think it's incumbent on you to have those conversations, know that you've hired the very best person for this role in your company, because the longevity of that client with your organization, I think, is really going to rest on this role more than anything else.
Mike, another question or comment that I consistently hear from across the state is, of course, SFC program or the SFC service is not covered under the EVV system per se. So the state EVV does not apply to SFC. Having said that, SFC health coaches and family members still have the onus of having a system not only to record attendance, but also to maintain the operations side of it. What are the other challenges that you think that health coaches face when they are doing their job, in addition to maintaining, a detailed records of the conversation with the caregiver and the health of the person who is receiving the care, the member? What are the other challenges you think health coaches have?
Yeah. Again, a great question. And one of the anomalies that we have right now is the fact that SFC started in Georgia, I want to say back in the summer of 2019. So it was just beginning to sort of take off when all of a sudden COVID hit. COVID hit, and all of a sudden we're no longer in the participants' homes like we have been. And so there's a great concern on the part of not just providers, but of the state and other agencies, that when you can't put your eyes on, when you don't know everything that's going on, when you can't see inside of that home, there's a fear, is there fraud, neglect, abuse, or the things going on that I don't know about? And of course, what EVV does for the PSS providers is it lets you know that that caregiver is exactly where they're supposed to be. And when you look at the reports, you see that that at least on paper or on within technology, you're seeing that at least it looks like all those things were done. You having an employee in there gives you another set of eyes where you can pretty well not only know that they got done, but that employee can also let you know of other things they see there that might be of a concern. When we're looking at structured family care, again, right now, we don't have eyes inside the house. We're depending on a family member who's caring for a family member to be completely honest with us about everything that's taking place. Now, they're using a task list through technology to let you know that during the day they completed those tasks, and that has to be submitted daily in order for the SFC provider to be able to bill for those services that day and for the caregiver to get paid. But again, that is a technology piece that is simply letting you know that, as best you can know right now, that those things happened. But we're having to trust that the people that we're dealing with are right where they say they are, doing the things that they say that they're doing. And I do know for a fact, because I've seen the evidence, that unfortunately there are some bad actors out there that are saying they're doing one thing, but in fact they're doing another. They've got a job outside the home. I know of one that was actually working in another state, but still was turning in a task list daily. So the opportunity for fraud does exist, though it's very, very minimal, because I do believe for the most part, people that are caring for family have a very deep, not only emotional, but spiritual connection with their family, and they're going to do the very, very best that they can. So where do we go from here? Do we see it come to a point where the state maybe makes EVV a potential part of this? Certainly that, anything is possible with rules. One of the things that we have to understand about this relationship in particular is that caregiver is not an employee of the provider. And so I don't know if it's privacy issues or other things where there's some challenges here, but you can require of an employee to do and adhere to certain requirements. When it comes to a family member under this, it apparently at least appears to be different, and that may be something over the next couple of years that changes and evolves into something else. But right now, it is a matter of a whole lot of trust. They are providing a task list, but like I said, eventually, case management is going to get back out into the field, and there will be more face-to-face visits. And so if there are, and we know that there are a few bad actors out there, but I think that over time, again, when we're back out, when case management is back out there, that at least the possibility of those things will begin to minimize themselves further.
Mike, I would like to read a question from our audience member. This is a question from Jill. Jill, thank you for your question, and let me read. And if I'm missing anything, please send a follow-up comment. What should be implemented for a member that wants the caregiver to take them out every day?
Okay. Now, as I understand the manual, if the member wants to go for a walk around their yard or around their neighborhood, they want to go with them when they go grocery shopping, those kind of things, or obviously their trips to the doctor. I have not personally seen anything in the manual that prohibits those kind of things. Where we do get into issues is when the member, the participant, and the family are wanting to take a vacation where they're actually leaving town. They're going to the beach for a week. They're going out of state. That's a different issue there, and the manual does require that if you're leaving the area, that you must contact your case manager, and DCH, Department of Community Health, has to approve you're going and doing that. Now, again, as I understand it, because the member and the caregiver are together, and those activities of daily living are still being done, they're still compensated. But again, the state has to know where they are, because the state is still responsible for them as a member of this program, and money is going to change hands for the services that are being provided. But I don't think there's any prohibition as far as, hey, we're gonna leave the house and go to the park and go sit on a bench for a couple of hours. I don't think that's an issue at all. It's when you actually leave the area and you're gone overnight, or you're gone for several days. That's when you have to bring other people in for the state to approve their being able to go do that.
Mike, some of the people in the audience are also SFC provider today. And one of the common challenges sometimes they face is when family members, the caregivers, they do not want to communicate with the health coaches. For example, other than filling their timesheets or so on and so forth, they don't want to engage. So they are rather disinterested in. It's not the health coach who is a disinterested third party, it's actually the caregiver who does not want to have a conversation for a variety of reasons. What are the ways that you have seen some of the health coaches do in order for them to do their job, because they have to make sure that caregivers are staying in touch?
Sure. Yeah. Of course, one of the requirements of the program is that the health coach does have to reach out monthly weekly, and then the case management has to have a conversation with them monthly, just to see how things are going. And when that communication does not exist, when it doesn't happen, you've made multiple calls and nobody's answering the phone, but you're getting these task lists turned in, then you, along with, and I say you, I'm talking about the provider, along with case management, then may have to have some sort of a case conference, if you will, with the family, with the caregiver, with the member, to help them understand that this is a part of their continuing with the program. And in order for you to be able to continue to receive this benefit, this communication has to take place. So that's one thing there. When you've got a caregiver who just doesn't like to communicate or doesn't communicate well, again, you need to make sure that the questions that you're asking are not just yes or no questions. Mom doing okay today? Yep, mom's good. Now, what you want is you want something that's open-ended, a leading question. Tell me a little bit about mom's day today, or tell me a little bit about your dad's day. What are some things he's having difficulty with? Oh, he's fine. Well, and then they can go back to the care plan and go, well, I know that, that he's sort of mid-stage Alzheimer's. How well is he able to still communicate with you? So then you begin to get them opening up, maybe talk a little bit more. And those are ways that you can help to begin to, to build that relationship with them when they understand that, the caregiver understands that this is the health coach's job to get this information. But again, if they're being a little more empathetic, sympathetic in how they ask the questions, or, hey, your voice, you sound a little different today. You sound a little stressed. Tell me what I can help you with. Again, you're trying to help break down barriers, break down walls, so that communication does happen between the two of you. Again, we have to think about the fact that all of a sudden, mom got sick, something happened. All of a sudden, now I've had to quit my job. I've had to move in with her. She's had to move in with me. The life that I had planned all of a sudden is not the life that I was expecting. And so there's some emotional walls that build up. And sometimes it just takes a little time, a little patience, and a little empathy to begin to wear that, take a few bricks out of the wall, if you will, to where that communication can, in fact, happen.
Well, those were indeed very profound words, as always, from you, Mike. And now we have also come to the segment where we have to conclude our 2-day spring summit, the first ever Medicaid PSS Providers Growth Summit. Mike, you have the final word.
Well, again, I want to thank all of you who took time, because we know, as business owners, we know this: the most valuable thing you could give us is your time. To take time out of your day, and we know this from the analytics. You didn't just pop on and pop out. A lot of you have spent, a couple of hours in the last 2 days with us. And so, what we've hoped to do is to give you some content that was valuable to you, that you can take and use, that you can reach out to these presenters that we've had come in that can help you with things, not only now, but in the future as well. So again, a big thank you for giving us your time. And if there's any way that Anand or I can help you, of course, our information is in the visitors booth. It'll be in the information you'll receive from us. But we want you to understand that we want to be partners with you that we've been at this for a while, and we want to partner with you to help you to be the very best you can be in what you're doing, not only today, but in the days, months, and years ahead. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you all.